All right, and we are live. Welcome.
Ooh,
Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome.
another beautiful day, paradise in abundance is where we're at right now.
Beautiful day in abundance. Agreed. Welcome back to the masterclass, Dax.
Happy to be here, of course. Grant, appreciate the love, the time, the honesty, the transparency, the giving.
All
Like
the
it.
love, my friend.
Yes.
One of many. I think we're through a couple masterclasses here, and we actually have a handful still more to go because you guys are animals building over at A8. That's right.
Now we're trying to make a lot of things happen and patch a few holes and just really try to provide value to enable not only end users but enable agencies to have the tools to solve problems that some people say aren't solvable. That brings us to what we
Beautiful.
got to talk about today. What we got
Yeah.
to talk about today.
So we're
Oh man.
here on the other side of Masterclass, on the other side of Sprocketeer rebrand, but we're championing HubSpot Super Admin at Sprocketeer, and one of the ways we do it is with these masterclasses. So when do you click install? With all of these integrations to HubSpot, applications on top of HubSpot, how do you know when to click install? What we do in the masterclass and what Dax is going to do with us today is walk us through one of the applications called Associ8 and talk us through what it can do, but then also about some use cases of what we might need. So this one's a little bit of a unique one because it's one of those where HubSpot didn't have it, and so Dax and his team built it. HubSpot has since created some associations capabilities, but now we get to talk about how Associ8 can still help you regardless of if you're using the existing associations inside HubSpot. Associ8, of course,
Yes.
it's another one of those these fun tools that A8 Labs builds all around, like you can see in Dax's background, games, having fun with games. There you go. It's up on the wall,
Shout,
folks.
shout out in the chat. Comment below if you know where the inspiration of the logo came from.
Shout it in the chat.
Comment below in the chat. Let's get
Where
it.
does the inspiration for the logo come from? Always a good time as far as where this stuff comes from with you, Dax, because there is a place, and so
Oh,
finding
it
it.
does have a place. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So we'll get that going. But yeah, so let's talk about associations in general with HubSpot. So it's one of the most powerful things that you can utilize and leverage to really kind of connect your data. You have your native associations, which you call your contacts to deals. You have your deals to companies. You send out a quote from a deal. You want to make sure that and behind the scenes that's actually associated. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens when you deal with associations. Not many people understand that products are associated to line items. Right? It's an actual association behind the scenes when you deal with the API. There's actually more than one type of association as well. There is an association when you have a contact to a deal. There's actually two different ways that can be associated in the API. So it goes deeper than the surface of what happens when you do associations. But one of the challenges is, how do I do it automatically? It's a manual thing. You click add deal, click add company, and that works at all, of course. Even with custom objects, you're able to create the schema to link your custom object to this, that, and third, however you'd like. What happens when you need to do this at scale? What happens when you have a couple different data models that need to be connected without any type of human intervention? And that's where Associate comes in. So we're able to do dynamic and flexible associations via HubSpot workflows. It comes with two. When you install, it comes with two different types of objects depending on your tier. You get one for your native integration, your native. So I want to connect contacts to deals. And you have your associate for custom objects, where I want to associate X to a custom object, or vice versa. I want to do a custom object to a standard object. So a lot of things happen. So I think the easiest way, Grant, is to jump into a live demo and watch things break. So
Let's see it. That's right.
that all sounds like a lot of fun. So we're gonna create something from scratch. I'm gonna grab a random portal. So you're gonna have to teach me on sharing my screen if I can just do this right
Yeah.
now.
Down at the bottom, the
Uh,
cool thing about Discord is it's very much like Zoom in that you can share. The fun part is everyone can share simultaneously. So
hey,
I see you sharing. I'm over to you now, and I can see your screen. It looks like we're in HubSpot.
We're in HubSpot. We're going to do we're going to do a really, really common workflow. Let me see if I'm in the right place. Hopefully I can just do it. But the example of when you want to do an association, you want to kind of break what HubSpot does by default is Gmails, right? So everyone has, if you're dealing with schools especially, or just say the folk that aren't in the business, if you're doing a lot of things that are consumer based, people have Gmails, Hotmails, Yahoos, Hey.com if they're really special. And what HubSpot wants to do is automatically associate you to what the domain is. So if I'm a Gmail, HubSpot's going to associate my contact to the company Google. It's clearly not correct. What happens if you have a school, right? And your schools have a ton of different type of emails, and you want to associate them to the same actual company. You got to, and you want to do it automatically because you're getting people coming in all willy-nilly all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very common example that we do show when you want to do an association. So we'll go through a few different cool examples, but we'll just say a person type can't. Something like this. I had a big monitor that has hooked up to my mechanical loud keyboard. I wanted to make sure that my fan wasn't buzzing like out of the board here. So let's do.
I can hear the fan a little bit, FYI,
See,
like last time.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I have to work on this 2017 laptop, and it's working real hard, and it's hot in here. Anyway, excuses.
Got it.
So
got it.
We have a person to contact. This is going to be a contact-based workflow. So what's going to happen? How are we going to operate this? So let's say we set up our trigger, and we would say, well, the contact property, we'll say company, right? So company name. Let's say we have a form in HubSpot, your old girl HubSpot form. We're entering in students, or we're entering in, let's call it we'll call it school. I think I have that property here too. So form, and you have students entering in, they enter in their school. So what happens if I'm going to enter in my Gmail and I'm not supposed to be associated with the company Google? I would like to be associated with the company where I went to school, NIU. So let's say you could do this as a dynamic token, or what we can do right now is we'd say whenever the school is known, everybody that comes in and their school is known, that's going to be the trigger. And now we can look at associate. We have here, it's going to be regular contact. So now we're going to look at what associated object type. Where do I want to associate this contact when it enters the workflow? I want it to go to a company. The way associate works at a core is looking for matching values. So when the contact comes in, so Grant comes in, Grant, what school to go to?
IU.
Illinois, IU, Indiana University.
Indiana University.
There it is, right? So very familiar there. So when you want to say, hey, I want to look at the property, the school property, on the contact, which is going to be, we'll say IU, and it's going to look for the associated object property. So on the company, what matches with IU? So we would actually say company name. So we would say IU, or ideally, you're going to do contact token school. So no matter if I come in with IU, if Grant comes in with IU and we're going to create Grant, we're going to see this happen live. Instead of it going to whatever company, right? It's going to actually associate it with directly the company that I say I want it to. You could actually add a label to that as well. We're an Add Nintendo fans. Why not? So again, you can add your labels, and you can actually run associate to update labels. You can do a lot of things with this. So for the easiest one, we're going to run this. So again, we're going to look at when the school is known in a contact. We're going to run this workflow, and it's going to look at the company name of it's going to look through all the companies and find the company name where it equals this value I have on the contact for school. It's going to associate and do that label. So now I'm going to hit save. And let's try to do this real live. Review and publish. I'm just going to turn it on.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, don't forget that. That's a common one. Don't forget to turn it on.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do first. First, we're going to create the company. The company is going to be IU. So IU.edu, Indiana University.
There you go.
But I'm going to make it IU. Or we could do it the formal way. Indiana University. What's that phenomenon where someone's watching you type and you just cannot do
And
it?
you cannot type what you're
You just
saying.
cannot type what you
Had you
cannot
not
type
said
while
it?
somebody's watching you.
No,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
So Indiana, it's totally a thing. So you have Indiana University is the company name, IU.edu. So boom. So we created Indiana University. Now let's create a grant, and you'll see what usually would happen. So we're going to create a new contact. I'll probably do that faster. Create this new contact, and it's going to be grant@gmail.com. Let's see. I add school here, so we're going to create that. We're also going to change his school value. So let's view all the properties. We're going to take his school property. See, almost got me there. Indiana University. So ideally, this would be filled out a form that you had taken where you say, what's your school? You type in Indiana University. So
Right.
again, this really, or would be, so ideally it's select from a drop down, right? So you don't want Indiana University, la la la.
Yep,
Which
yep.
would mess up your mapping. So you can have this as a value. So now we have Indiana University. We're going to hit save. Now, upon this property, what's going to happen is this workflow is going to kick off. It's going to look for any company that has this as the name and associate it to a frame room. We may see this live. It takes, we work on a queuing system. So this is not going to run like in 2 seconds.
Right.
This contact is bounced globally because we have a lot of associations to process. So I'm just going to hit the magic refresh button and see if anything happens yet.
So Dex, so while that's running in the background, the workflow is finding the association based on the school that I put in. So like you were saying, if I'm filling out a form, if I'm on a web page and I'm viewing content or an email, I click in, and you've already set that up so that you're associating with me, Indiana University, because that's what I've clicked on or that's what I filled in, then that property essentially will get Indiana University. What then you get to do is now workflow against it, right?
Correct. And the ideal scenario is if I probably made a typo with the thing, it's going to look for anybody that the company. Oh, that's funny. I actually didn't do it correctly. I did the company name. But regardless, you guys get it, and you get to call me out for breaking on a live demo. But let's look at the school. So contact the school is known. So I was enrolled in it, and we're looking at the company name, which should have been Indiana University for that school for that. So we are all good. So that's the ideal scenario how it would work. I have another one pulled up here to talk about custom objects. We can jump on that. So let me pull up grant. But that's how it works in a nutshell. Let's see.
So then it's pulling because of the school name, right, Dex? It's because I put in the school name or I filled out a form and checked a box that's the school name.
Correct. And there we go. So there it happened. So now you see Grant has been associated with Indiana University. So everything worked as expected.
So even though my @Gmail, right? And so for those of you, here's the big point out here. Okay, associations I've been doing in HubSpot. Well, great. It's usually pulling the domain. That's how HubSpot's naturally doing it. It's pulling a domain, where in the case where you have a Gmail or the domain isn't the association, it's something else. Doesn't matter what, it's something besides that. Associates allowing you to make that and define that association based on your business, your use case, your customer journey. And so what I want to point out, I'm going to full screen your screen, Dax, is that my Gmail is my official email in his example, but at the top, the company domain is iu.edu.
Exactly. So you're able to
Awesome.
kind of overwrite what HubSpot would do natively and create your own association. Very simple, small example. But as you can see, once the school was known, once that kind of kicks off, that cron job kicks off, and you go behind the scenes, you're going to run your associations and start to queue them up and start to do your associations. So you can also notice that we labeled it as Nintendo fans.
And I want to hold on to this point real quick, Dex, because we're talking about this contact with a company.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just that, right? It can be what else? It can be
any association that is set up in HubSpot. So obviously you're not going to be able to do deals to deals. But you could do a deal to a custom object to a contact, a company to a deal. It could be anything that your heart's desires based upon your expertise in running through HubSpot workflows.
I think
So you
that's the big one, Dax, for people thinking maybe day to day. I work in tasks and I have to work through all the tickets that are associated with me, right? I have my tickets list, or I have my deals associated with me, and my deals are the things in my pipeline. So I'm only looking at those. Well, great. If you want to associate them in a new way or help get them into a member list because you've qualified them, you've brought in a status, whatever that case is, Associate will allow you to make them based on what your relationship is, not the domain name. That's just technicality. We're talking about people here.
Let's talk about the mechanism is that this is based upon a shared field. So another common instance is, how do I get my tickets that are going to be associated to a person? How do I get those associated to the company, right? So a lot of people have their own kind of client IDs, and one of our clients has a client ID that is shared between the contact and the company, and it kind of filters all the way through. So everybody that works at Coca-Cola has a client ID that's Coca-Cola. If they submit a ticket, that ticket would never go up to Coca-Cola by default. But now it does, because they have Associate and they look for the ticket ID. They say, hey, when the ticket ID or the client ID is known on a contact, associate those tickets to both that and the company, right? So you can have that shared, as long as there is a shared field, then it will go and grab everything that has that field or that dynamic field if you're using a token and associate it. So as we stated in this workflow, we just used the dynamic token for whatever school name. So now I can create another contact for Harvard University, give them a Yahoo, and it will still work because it's looking for any company name that is Harvard University. In this instance, Indiana University. Here's another kind of example of how we utilize one of our other apps, Zebra, to associate a subscription custom object to a deal. In this case, I have a deal I'm working, which is a contract between myself and Sprocketeer. So A8 Labs, Sprocketeer, we're going to do some business. And I have closed one that we're going to subscribe, or you're subscribing to one of our apps. So now you have a subscription. Since I sent you a Zebra quote, I have a subscription that's tied to a deal. What happens when I make a renewal deal, right? That renewal deal is going to be orphaned from the actual subscription information, which is its own custom object. So how do I get that subscription custom object to stay with any subsequent deal I create? So all you need to do is have a field that is shared across all those deals, which is your Stripe subscription ID. So in this enrollment trigger, for a deal, you would say the Stripe subscription ID is known, and renewal field is yes. So that means I've created a deal that already has a subscription ID, and now I want it to automatically pull the subscription objects that have that ID and attach to the new deal. Very simple. We have an associate that looks for the Zebra subscription custom object. We're looking at the subscription item ID on that subscription object and matching it with the Stripe subscription ID on the deal. And it does that automatically. So whenever we update that new deal comes out with this, boom, it grabs that custom object, puts it in there.
That's a great use case. Those subscriptions we know are going to happen. We know a renewal deal might happen where you might be invoicing, and that might be something that's going to happen. You know what that future looks like. And so with Associate, you can create those. As you create those assets in the future, they'll all be associated, and you're not worrying whether you're missing it.
And one of the keys here is that when and I'm peering into a different app here, but for Zebra with our subscriptions, if you do an upgrade or a downgrade, we create a subsequent object we call the delta object that shows that this was upgraded minus or plus 30, this was downgraded negative 10. It's the same subscription. So you're working, there could be 5 or 6 different objects that have the same ID. So whenever there's a new one that's added, guess what happens?
Right.
It's associated automatically to any future deals.
So right now then, Dex, what I'm hearing you say over here on the contact record, or say it was a company record that you were doing, the deals then over on the right, I would be seeing each of those instances?
Yes. So to make sure I'm answering correctly, I've done this as a deal trigger, or this workflow is triggered by things that happen on a deal. So if I wanted to associate it to something else...
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you showing us a workflow right now? We see the contact object.
Oh, look at you guys. You know
Contact
what?
record.
I need to switch windows. Haha, that'll do it. You ready for
Got it.
this?
Got it.
Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh yeah. So let me just do that because I was sharing just my this little tab here, trying to be slick with. Let's see.
Slick with the tabs.
Trying to be slick with the tabs. I figured out that as I'm dealing with an aging computer, I just got to go one tab at a time. So
I
can you
can see the tab. Yep.
Yeah, associate renewal deals to subscriptions. So this is what I was illustrating. So I have my deal enrollment trigger where I'm saying on the deal, the Stripe subscription ID is known and it's a renewal. Once that happens on that renewal, that next deal, it will then associate everything that every Zebra subscription custom object shares the same value in these two fields. This is the deal field. This is the associated object field, which is the Zebra subscription.
That's amazing. And your second trigger there, Dax, that renewal question mark, is that a custom property you've just made?
Custom property. That's just a custom property on the deal to say, is this a renewal? Yes. So it doesn't automatically, it doesn't trigger the original deal again.
Mm-hmm.
It would just double the association, but that wouldn't be an issue. So this is another kind of example on the custom object. One of the common ones we did see as well too is a company that has a loan object. They wanted to associate an insurance policy for every deal that is over a certain amount. So very simple to work with here. You could say if a deal amount is known and it's over X amount, do the association where you associate that insurance object or loan. There's like a loan and there's an insurance object. So you associate the insurance object that has the same policy ID.
Oh, that makes sense as you
they create
add
the deal,
on.
and it's like, this deal is now bigger than X. We have to associate an insurance policy to it.
Sure.
And that happens automatically once the deal amount goes over a certain amount there. So
wow, imagine
how we're working that.
Yeah, a company maybe that has a product that they sell with service on the back end and maybe insurance then on the product. If they're starting to sell multiple packages like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can kind of work with on the front of how you associate these things. The power is yours. I mean, Captain Planet said it right. So there's some fun stuff. There's also some fun stuff behind the scenes that we can do because there are, and I'm going to actually log into somewhere. Because we do have a couple newer features to associate, namely unassociate. So here's one of the things that we've had. Associate is anything that happens with HubSpot workflows is extremely, extremely powerful. If you type in the letter A, it's going to associate everything that has the letter A potentially. That could be your entire HubSpot. I've had instances where people have associated every single deal that they have in their system, thousands, to every single contact because of the matching that they were done, right? You're mad at the computer, but the computer did exactly what you wanted to do. That's one of the reasons why we don't do searching, right? Because we say the field has to have this value on both objects, and we will bring them together. We can't say it starts with S or ends with this or contains this. It would be a wildfire everywhere because of number one, the search API, which is from HubSpot, is limited in the amount that we can bring, and two, everyone would typo themselves into oblivion. But what happens if you do? What happens when, hey, I associated everything to everything? Oops, can you fix it? The answer used to be no, you can't. Please read the instructions a little better. But that's horrible. I take that's for everyone. That's horrible customer service. It's a horrible experience for anyone. So we had built out what we call unassociate. So that is something that I'm going to pull up right now. And also I'm going to show you a little bit in behind the scenes in the lab here. So
love that. Okay, some sneak peek into the lab and some de-association. I have not had to, luckily, cross my fingers, knock on wood, I have not had to de-associate as of yet.
Got it. I'm going to see if I can pull up an account that has a bunch of associations to it tonight. I might be able to show this. Let me see if I
So
break
those
it
of
down.
you listening, Sprocketeer out there, uh, uh, there is not one of us who hasn't made our Excel spreadsheet or whatever our spreadsheet and gotten ready to hit import. We've associated our columns. We know all the numbers and the IDs internally are correct, and then we're still just hovering over import, not ready to make the jump on hundreds or thousands of records. Man, have I had to deduplicate numerous times, uh, ch- change all of the properties for all of the import I just did. Now I have
Yeah,
an association I can undo. All right, so we can see your screen. It says A8 Labs Associate.
got it. So when you install Associate, you're able to actually see all the stuff that's actually happened. So when you run a workflow, you'll be able to see all of the things that happen. So this is the only one we've done. It was a
Mm-hmm.
contact to company. There's a search terms, Indiana University, and we did one association and it hit success. So I have on the basic plan. The unassociate is on a higher tier. For this little demo portal. But what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to select all for that run and boom, unassociate. So what we do is we take everything that we did, we break it. So we break every association that's there. So let's say if this we had Grant that was attached to Indiana University as the company. If Grant was also associated to any deals or any tickets, we would break those too. So it's pretty much a all or nothing. You can undo you can basically break all the association because it'd be a lot of effort to find the association ID, figure out which one you did, which ones
Right.
you didn't do, and then kind of selectively break them, right? So what we allow is on the higher tiers is a way to select associations that have run from workflows, and
It's great to have a
there
listing.
is reprise. There is reprise.
There is reprise. I mean, the listing
Yeah.
alone, Dax, for one, is great knowing that I can go and see what's actually happened. So I've run it. Can I go see confirmation? And then can I go see what I think has happened? And so I can see what truly has happened. And so if it hasn't, whatever the case is, I'm able to actually run it back. But then,
Right. One of the key things is that if I just jump back into on the same tab, jump back into or the workflow. When you look at workflows, this is a common thing that a lot of people don't understand because it's not made to understand. When you work with, we have this person to contact. If we want to look at the history, so I know they changed this to
mm-hmm,
details now, right?
right?
So you want to look at your action logs.
Yep.
You see successfully executed. So people will come here and say, hey, it looks like it ran successfully, but the associations aren't there. So this actually means that HubSpot successfully made the API call to our system. That's
Right.
all that means. It does not mean that there actually was a successful association. So it just means that Grant was processed. We don't know, HubSpot doesn't know what happened afterwards. We have no way to tell them what happened afterwards. That is why we had to implement the so we can show you exactly what happened, when it happened, and so if you didn't want it to happen, you can kind of go backwards.
Yeah, you can do the undo. And that makes a lot of sense that HubSpot's saying, all right, from our end, we made the call. You, though, want to get to the other
Here's our
side,
guy.
the other island, and say, hey, did you receive the right call? Did that do the thing?
Correct. So that's why we have this list
Yeah.
that pulls all the things that we had, the time it happened. So you have a lot of kind of flexibility to understand what's working and what's not. You like, for instance, this was Indiana P University, it would just go fail. And you wouldn't be able to, it would be like, it would say your comments no match, or there was no match for this, no companies with this name. You have a lot of information. So this is one of those tools, Grant, where your your business workflow and what kind of you do is kind of what governs everything. We just allow you to connect the dots, literally.
Right, right.
So we've seen tons and tons of different use cases for reason why people need to associate different things for different ones. It usually always has to do with this belongs here, but it also belongs there. So we do a property match to that other object, and then all the associations happen as needed. So big deal there on the ability of just to control how the associations work.
Dex, you gave us a rundown. You showed us the back end. There's deassociation. There's any of these objects. Let's talk about if you're listening right now and you're saying, oh, hey, I need some associations made. I'm using current associations, or I don't know about HubSpot associations regardless. What Dax has shown me is something I want to look into and put on my portal. We have it up here on the screen. You can just go to the app marketplace in your HubSpot portal, and you can click install app. There are a couple different levels. The first one is a free level. The great part about Associ8 is it's a HubSpot certified app. HubSpot has looked through, they approve what's going on, and when you install it, it will work in your portal.
They have approved what's going on is the key. So, which is heavily, right? You want to make sure that you're not just putting in something. We're not going to go back to the Atari days and everybody's putting out a bunch of fluff, ruining the industry. We don't want to do that. So it's HubSpot certified. You do have a free. When you first install, you do get to use the Pro version for your trial. So if you're looking to play with custom objects and see how that can work in your workflow, that's going to be free as well. For you get a few days to do that as well. So again, hit us up if you have any questions. If you want to extend the trial, if you need help setting up a couple workflows, we'd be glad to help out. We do have live chat within the lab, so you can always just jump out and reach out and touch somebody. Not a problem there. And we also support 1,000 associations per month on the free tier. Enough to get your hands dirty, to get things going automatically. And that's attempts. So when we try to do it, that counts as one. So we want to make sure, again, and you're able to be metered and you can see how many you've made. So there's all the transparency of kind of how you're using that product to make sure that your business works as required.
And Dex, that's a good point you bring up, is the association's made. So once it's made, it's not counted. Right? It is now that the association is made. Correct?
Yeah, it's so your 1,000 a month is associations that we attempt to do. So if you try to do it 5,000 times and just completely fails, there's probably a problem, but that would count against kind of your credits there, because everything is based upon kind of workflow and server usage. So user billing is what we like to call it.
So yeah, once the association's made, you're not being, it's not accumulating. Yeah.
No, it's the association. It's basically the attempts to make it. So we give you 1,000 attempts a month to make attempts. That's usually good enough for most folks to kind of do their simple stuff. But then there's some other people that are doing hundreds of thousands, because every time they do XYZ, there's 5 or 6 associations that need to happen across a bunch of different custom objects to link everything together and managing that data. So that data model is managed at scale via Associ8. Labeling is a big one too. Let's just say that. So you have some associations you want to make. You can do a bunch of labeling as well via Associ8 by making that association again and then adding the label. You can kind of redo a lot of your labeling at scale as well, automatically.
Labeling at scale would be an entire use case then of just getting the right labels and maybe tags on the right objects.
Right. So one of the use cases there was I believe it's I think it might be a real estate or an insurance company. They do a lot of email automation based upon the labels that a given relationship has. So the association could have multiples. Let's say it's a deal that has multiple associations, but one of the associations is labeled as primary. Or not primary. Let's say customer. That person is the one that is in the email, and it really matters when they make that association. They have like a bunch of if-then branches to make sure the correct person is labeled the correct way. So it would be, for example, if a couple contact fields are set a certain way, then do the association to the contact to the deal with this label. But if the contact has certain other fields, label it this way. So you can chain a lot of the different associations to make sure that your label is there. So leveraging HubSpot's workflows and the way they're able to be built, you can really build a kind of good scenario to have your labels how you want them based upon a given kind of sub scenario, right? Like all the contacts come in the workflow, but then you could kind of segment them off, associate them a different way throughout the chain. So a lot of it's just basically building you're kind of doing your own bubble.io style, build your own app.
Right.
Within HubSpot, right? So that's the power again of HubSpot workflows, which is one of the most powerful tools that they have.
I love that you went deep on that. Marketers who want to target particular people with content, salespeople who are wanting to run sequences. appropriately, the appropriate sequence for the appropriate person at the right time. It sounds like Associate is one of the ways, again, to get into workflows and get them tagged. Love that. There's another question coming in from Twitch. Matt asks, does de-associate only work on associations created by Associate?
That's correct. So we keep track of the associations that we made, and we kind of are able to label those that we did them, and then with that de-associate or unassociate, you're able to then break pretty much everything that has. Great question, Matt.
Got it. The de-associate is breaking the associations that have been made by Associate.
By Associate.
That makes sense.
Exactly. But, and again, we kind of break, in the current state, we break everything. So everything gets orphaned because it's way a little bit more complicated on the API side to pick the one, just this contact to company one, because you may have brought other stuff into the mix, and we just have to kind of take care of everything. We kind of leave everything exploded.
This is kind of out of scope, but to Matt's question, is it capable, is it on the roadmap at all for you guys to start logging any associations made, even by HubSpot, and then being able to manipulate and track those?
So we have kind of thought about and it's almost like a separate app, or it's a separate piece of it, because now it's just on Associate. And instead of the associate, you do a workflow that says, if this, break the association. That would be kind of we haven't broken ground on that, but we've been talking about what that looks like.
Sure. Matt, I guess I'm guessing you're asking because you would want a single place to manage all of your associations, and Associate could be that core place where any association being made, regardless of how, could be that thing. Dax has not said this. He has not promised this. Going with Matt's comment here, and thinking about the build out for this app.
But that's a big window that's missing. How do I see all of my associations just in general? Is there a way? How would that look? What does that look? What does that operate like? I just want to see what all is associated with what and manipulate them as needed. So that's actually a really good window that doesn't exist.
It's interesting. Dax, we have your email up on the screen right now. I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight to HubSpot and the way it works. Not only are you continuing to build things that we need, the way that you think about what it is you're building is new for all of us. So if you're a Sprocketeer listening and you're hearing Dax talk about things that are powerful in HubSpot, what he's showing us are all of the ways that we can leverage HubSpot in all the ways that aren't native to HubSpot, and Associate is one of those.
No, appreciate the love for being here. This is a big deal for the community here, and obviously you're doing the Lord's work out here, bringing all these people together and being able to resonate right on this as one collective consciousness. This is how we need to operate this, and we look at the apps that we build. It's not just as for the HubSpot user, right? The HubSpot, I am the super admin, but also those that are looking to have clients, that are looking to help spread their word, spread what they're able to do. Because it's a very powerful thing to the HubSpot support and say that this isn't supported. If you are an agency, you do have clients, and you know the tools, not only just our tools, but all the tools in the ecosystem, have that leg up. You have that knowledge. You have the secret instruction manual on how to solve these problems that no one else can. And all the apps that we do are kind of just the swords to make everyone the hero. That's what we're here for. We want to make everybody the hero.
Love it. Dax, always fun to have you on. Looking forward to the next masterclass. This has been a masterclass with Dax over at A8. We just reviewed Associate. We love you, Sprocketeers. We're here with you. We're together. We're building. We're growing. And we'll do all the... Gotta get on the right side. Here? Yeah, I was like, wait. It's like center, isn't it?
It's not even shaped like this. Let's just do it.
Yeah, it's not. It's just like a fist.
Yeah, it's just a fist thingy. Oh,
all right, you want to talk?
We're full of it. Whatever it is, we're full of it.
Whatever it is. You can see and chat with Dax more over on Discord. He and Jonathan over at A8 are both in Discord. Beyond that, go check out Associ8 if you want to manage associations. Hopefully these use cases were helpful for you to understand that when you come upon them in the future and a client might be talking to you about them, or a customer journey looks like what we were talking about here, go on over to Associ8 and see if it'll help your use case. Dax, thanks so
Appreciate all
much.
of you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, take care, Sprocketeers.